Hey guys, Annie and Caitlin here, and we are doing as promised. We are going to sit here and review all of Aladdin, the new Broadway musical that is at the Pantages Theater in Hollywood. We were able to go last night, and it was
amazing.
Spectacular. It was not the musical Spectacular.
It was not. I wanted to call it that, and that was not.
It is Aladdin, A Whole New World. That's actually the title of...
I said no puns.
I didn't do it. That's... A Whole New World is what it says right there. Okay, but we're gonna save this for later.
Yes.
Okay, what do we want to talk about first?
Let's talk about the show. I hope you have coffee or a warm beverage or any beverage of your choosing,
and or tea
and a snack, because this could get long.
It could.
We have a lot to say.
We've been known to talk quite a bit.
What? Us? No, not at all.
So
we've only been talking for 20 minutes before this on camera.
Alright, so diving into the review, we're going to talk about the actual show as a whole first. I think that it was spectacular, a musical spectacular, as it is not titled, but it is spectacular. I thought that as a whole it was incredibly enjoyable. It was bright and vibrant, and they told the story. It was in a new way, but it wasn't old. Does that make sense? Like, it's the same story that we've seen a few times.
Yes.
We've got the film version, we've got the DCA version that was there for a long time. Was that like 13 years? It was over a decade, right?
I think it was 14 or 15
years.
Man. It was there for a while.
Well, maybe we'll find out and put it down. Yeah, so we've got that to compare it to, and it just was not even comparable because they did it completely different. I kind of felt like they took everything that they did at DCA and they said, okay, we're not going to do any of this. We're just going to make this brand new.
One part.
Well, is that on our list to talk about later?
I did not. I did not put that on the list.
Okay, so we'll talk about that. We're gonna. It is on the list.
Oh, it is.
It's right there.
But the one thing in particular I'm thinking of.
The show as a whole was just breathtaking and completely entertaining and glittery.
So much glitter, as we mentioned on the Insta story, if you were following along on the DAPs Magic Instagram the other night. There was a lot of glitter. It was so glittery. I don't think there was any moment throughout the show where there wasn't shines just from the glitter or sequins. It was like bedazzled. The entire stage was bedazzled. All the people, everything. I think that's the best way to describe it. It was all just bedazzled. So it was a dazzling point of view.
What? Oh, I get it.
I made the pun and I said no puns.
Aww.
Right? That's the line. A dazzling point of view. Isn't that
it? Yeah.
Yay!
Alright, so moving on to our next category, we're talking about the music. I feel like the music was a little bit different than any other arrangement that we've heard. When you switch things from a Disney movie to a Broadway stage, they're going to be a lot fuller. You've got, not that the orchestra itself is bigger or there's more instrumentalists, it just has a different sound. It's a bigger sound. It's done with a live orchestra,
which I love.
So you can see the conductor down in the pit. He wasn't risen up above the stage, but you could see him from probably about here up. So if you did watch any of that, it kind of added an extra element to it. But I loved it.
I love live music to begin with. I love going to the symphony. I love a live orchestra. So for me, any chance to hear a live orchestra, I am game for. Flashback a while. At the 2013 D23 Expo, I was at the Alan Menken concert when he announced that they were doing a Broadway version of Aladdin. So I feel like I've been with this since the beginning, kind of, not really, but
since its inception.
Basically, and he played Proud of Your Boy, which was a version that was supposed to be in the animated movie. Didn't make it.
That was a really good song.
It's beautiful. I love it. I'm glad it made it, and with a reprise in the Broadway show. The soundtrack came out in 2014, so I've been listening to it since the soundtrack came out. I mean, I legitimately looked at when can I go to New York to see this show, because I love the soundtrack so much. And then it came out here and I didn't have to pay to go to New York. So
it's a win-win.
So it's hard when you're listening to a soundtrack that you've known for 20 plus years, listening to a Broadway version with all these extra songs and characters that you don't know and you have no context of it. I mean, I knew just based off of listening to Friend Like Me that I was going to love it. First off, it had tap in it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's tap in this number. I can't see it, but it sounds like it's great.
Yeah.
But there were some songs that I just kind of could imagine the context of the scene, but without having a visual, it's kind of, okay, this is just a good song. Yeah. Cool. So there were a lot of songs that were like that, and so actually seeing it last night, it kind of just, okay, this makes sense now. I get how they put all this together. But the music really is phenomenal. I think they did a great job. The additional songs, I don't think there are any that I kind of go, oh, I don't think this fit.
Yeah, I was just going to say that too, because I'm coming from the point of view of not having listened to any of the Broadway soundtrack before I saw the show. I loved the DCA version so much. I wanted to wait till I saw this before I listened to that soundtrack and kind of judged it without being able to see it. But the new songs, I thought, just floated seamlessly through everything. They were new, but they didn't feel like they were just kind of stuck in there to, you know how sometimes you can hear songs and you're like, oh, they kind of fit this in because there was a costume change, or somebody's getting ready, or something's going to happen in about 2 minutes and they need to fill the space. And the songs, there were a lot of comedic songs too.
There really were.
There was one song in particular, what was it? It was the one where they were fighting.
Oh, High Adventure, which I probably listened to that twice today.
Because it's hilarious.
It's so great. And just the music, and I could like sit there and kind of listen to the orchestra and all the tempo, and I'm, oh, I like this song a lot. Which, and funny enough, that was an additional song. And you, when you're watching it, you can tell that it is for costume change and set change and stuff, but it worked in the story.
And it's really entertaining.
It's sung by Aladdin's 3 friends. Their songs were so much fun, and their choreography, and it just, I honestly, now that I've seen them and seen the show with those songs, I like the songs more now. Because before I was like, okay, alright, cool. I don't know the friends, I don't know the context, I don't know their story, so they're just fun songs to me, but now after seeing it, I'm all, oh, these are great, I love listening to them now.
We could probably segue into the characters if you want to. Just go slip right into his free friends.
They are poor.
3 friends.
Okay, so there's a song called Babcock. That's a hard thing to say. Babcock, Cassim, Aladdin, Omar, or something. There's like like it's their names.
That was when Princess Jasmine was like, well, you sung it for like 20 minutes straight.
Aladdin introduces himself and she's all,
I know.
You only said your name 50 times in the last song. Aladdin has 3 friends in comparison to the animated version and the stage show, which, I mean, in the stage show there was no Abu. In this version in this Broadway version, there are no animals whatsoever. None. There's no Abu, there's no puppetry. Iago is not a bird. He is played as more of a sidekick, but dressed to look in the color scheme of Iago.
You know who he kind of reminded me of? LeFou.
Okay.
From Beauty and the Beast. Like, he's like that bumbling little sidekick that just is kind of like this all the time,
but also has a lot of the best lines.
Yeah, he's
in the
really
entire
funny.
show.
And I think he gives a lot more life to Jafar, because villains, until their big, you know, reveal where they're taking over the world, a lot of times they're just very staunch and just blah 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 blah, you know. And I think Jafar is very much that. He has like one expression, and it's Iago that was the comic relief.
Which was
great. In this show, Iago was able to help Jafar kind of release that a little bit of comedy and not make him so stiff,
but still have very much a comedic relief on the Iago side. But the 3 friends were in part due to there's no puppetry, no animals, no nothing. So so Aladdin needed a buddy per se of the three friends, and I want to say that the three friends were part of the original storyline, and then it just was going to make it too long. Just like he was supposed to have parents, and that just didn't work out for them. So he doesn't have parents in the show, but he alludes to his mom and in the song Proud of Your Boy. I loved the three friends. I didn't think I was gonna enjoy them as much as I did. And then after the show, I'm all, okay, I think they might have been my favorites.
Yeah,
I love them.
They're really fun. I always tend to love the sidekicks, though. Like, when I do stage things in theater, I love being the character bits because they're so much fun. So that's what calls to me. Like, there was one in particular who always makes food puns, and I was like,
so great.
This guy's my spirit animal. Like, I need to be his friend. We can make food puns all day long.
Well, I think the one line that I absolutely loved was, I feel awful. Did someone say falafel? And we're just like, yes. Thank you for making the food joke. There were plenty more food jokes, but the friends were really fun. I think they definitely stole the show for me. They were hysterical, and I love them. But I think we should go over the fact that we did get to see the original Aladdin and the original Jasmine. They both originated the roles back before it even moved to Broadway. Well, it was in previews. And all of that. So we got to see Adam Jacobs and Courtney Reed. I loved Adam Jacobs.
He's amazing.
With every fiber of my being. I loved him. He's married. I think he played Aladdin so incredibly
I feel
well.
like he is Aladdin.
Yeah. And I mean, that says a lot about a person and their acting when you look at them and you go, no, they're actually that character in real life. I absolutely adored Adam Jacobs. I thought he was amazing.
Yeah.
It was like listening to the soundtrack, but I'm all, oh, you're actually here and singing.
I really liked the way, what was the Jasmine again?
Courtney Reed.
I really liked the way that she portrayed Jasmine's personality. She wasn't like, I mean, Jasmine really isn't a damsel in distress to begin with, but she really empowered her, and they brought out the power of being your own person, and she was a strong woman that was like, I'm not going to do this because you tell me to, but she made it likable. She didn't make you not like her because she wasn't whiny, she wasn't like, Mara, you can't make me marry this guy, blah, blah, blah.
She stood up for herself.
She had really good comedic timing.
Yes, she did.
There were a lot of modern reflections on some of the jokes that would be kind of towards today's slang or just the way that words are said. I liked the way that she portrayed Jasmine.
There's one time in a song where she went like this, and we're like,
it was very
Rapunzel, calm down, calm down. I think it was still really cool to see her, like the original Broadway Jasmine, and she's only actually here for a couple more days. She had a short 1-month stint on the LA tour, so it was cool to see her.
Yeah. So should we talk about the Genie?
Yes.
The Genie. Oh my gosh, talk about the role of a lifetime. Just the role in itself is incredibly written. It's
for sure.
How could you not, like, just crazily intimidated by trying to revive something that Robin Williams created?
Right.
Anybody trying to do the Genie like Robin Williams is just gonna fall flat on their face because you can't. You can't be Robin Williams.
There's no way.
And who was the
James Iglehart Monroe was the original Broadway Aladdin.
And he, like, the character that he created is just phenomenal. It's not Robin Williams. It is his own Genie. Yeah. And it's completely different than the Genie that we saw at DCA. That was very, like...
That was a lot of ad-lib.
A lot of ad-lib, improv. It was a lot of current trends that were happening in society and slang and jokes, and it kind of always changed and evolved depending on what was happening during that time. But this one I feel like is super timeless. You could do that to an extent of what the dialogue was. Do you want to talk about how many things he had to do during Friend Like Me?
Oh my gosh. Well, first off, I will note that we actually had the understudy, the Genie understudy. So
imagine having to go on and do that at a moment's notice and literally carry a show.
I don't know his name. I mean, what a workout it is to be the Genie. I'm sure he was just dripping in sweat. And anytime he had to go off stage, it was probably like, pat, 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 go.
Yeah. Well, they even worked that into the show. After A Friend Like Me, there's literally a part where he just goes up against one of the sets and he's just like, hold on, give me a moment. Oh, no, hold on.
But I will say before I get into actually Friend Like Me, a huge difference between DCA Genie and this Genie is he's not painted blue, he, you know, isn't shirtless with a belly and all that. He is just, he's got a little bit of makeup to kind of look flashy and whatnot, but he's not blue.
He's not cartoon based.
No.
That makes sense.
And then his costume is like blue velvet with, of course, sparkles and sequins because, of course, sequins. That's the thing. And then the red sash. So the color combo is very Genie, but
like
without
he's Disney bounding as the cartoon.
I think that's a good way of saying that. Even saying for Iago, it wasn't cartoony. I don't think that's what they're trying to portray. Is they are telling this real life story.
Yeah.
Like this is a thing that happens. But Friend Like Me, before seeing this show, I was in love with the soundtrack version. I'm like, I cannot wait to see this in person. I think it was almost 10 minutes long. It's very long. On the soundtrack, it's about 8 minutes. They added more that I noticed last night, and I'm like, oh, that's not on the soundtrack. This is fun. I don't want to give a whole lot away, but I mean, a lot of it is on the soundtrack, so you can hear it. I was so excited. I don't know if you saw me, but I was like this right before it started. I'm like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, it's starting. I'm so excited. First, we have to go to the Cave of Wonders for Friend Like Me. It was gold, it was sparkly.
There were pyrotechnics.
And they were really, really bright. The first time it kind of was like, oh, I'm seeing flashes. It was very bright.
It was the kind of flash where it's so bright all in 1 second that you start seeing spots like where it used to be.
Well, because it wasn't just that. It was, you've got the sparkle of the cave, you've got fireworks, you have the sparkle of all the costumes, and it just was kind of sensory overload of, oh my gosh, and they're all dancing, and they're tap dancing, and they're doing all sorts of this, and I'm like, there is so much happening right now. But I don't want to say it was overwhelming. It was honestly spectacular. Friend Like Me, I felt after the show, I could have paid full price. Now, mind you, we got a really good deal on tickets. Go during the week, it's a lot cheaper.
There really isn't a bad seat either.
There is not. We had great seats. We could see, I would say we saw just about everything. So I could have paid full price, seen Friend Like Me, and that's the only thing I could have seen, and I would have left happy. It was honestly my favorite part by far. I felt was totally worth the entire price of admission for the show. I loved it. And then all their costumes were gold. All the tap dancers and everybody at the end. So it was, the whole entire stage was gold and glittery, and it was magical.
Yeah.
I loved it. But Friend Like Me, by far, I would say the best part of the show.
Yeah. What did you think about the other sets for the show? I felt like it was a little bit simplified. There wasn't a whole lot of pizzazz as far as the actual structures of the set. Like when you think about things like Les Miserables, they've got that huge barricade. They've got Phantom of the Opera, you know, has this like crazy winding staircase and, you know, the floating boats, and this one wasn't. I think it kind of threw back to the cartoon part of it, to where it was very cookie cutter. It was fleshed out, but it wasn't overly intricate. A lot of the backdrop was like that lattice lace look,
which was beautiful.
Really gorgeous.
Stunning.
But it set the scene. It didn't have to be super crazy. And I think the costumes and the actors had enough flash that the set pieces didn't have to, except for the Cave of Wonders, which definitely has to have the over the top.
It had to. I mean, and to go off of that, I think like with the marketplace, the set was very small, the buildings turned and could come together, but it was small because you had so many people on stage and their costumes were so flashy, or their props were flashy. You know, they had those banner kind of things that they'd walk around, but you don't want the set pieces to detract from the actors and their performance. So I think that's why. And then when you do get to Jasmine's, her private quarters, there are less actors, so I think they could do a little bit more with the set and make it a little bit more extravagant.
That's when the lattice kind of came through.
Which, honestly, I think other than the Cave of Wonders, it was only a backdrop. It wasn't an actual, there weren't huge set pieces, it just was kind of this whole backdrop, and it was stunning. I think because it was so clean and the color palette was beautiful.
They used a little bit of projections on the back wall, but it wasn't overly done. It was made to enhance, not as the main focus of what was happening.
And I don't think I actually noticed it until A Whole New World.
Yeah, well, I mean, you kind of have to, yeah. But even then, they used a lot of lights.
They did.
They didn't use a lot of scenery in the back. They let the actual mood of the lights on the stage set the tone.
Which was so very different from the California Adventure version. It's literally A Whole New World is just them and the carpet, and there's a round projection screen that it's the moon, but then also rotates to the earth when they get farther away from it. So they're looking down on the world, but it's a few lights. There's nothing else. It's not a set per se. It's just kind of this black screen,
smoke-filled room.
It's not like DCA where people are the Eiffel Tower, and I can't talk. It's not like that, and it's just you focus on Aladdin and Jasmine, and they're on the carpet and they're singing, and so it doesn't detract from anything other than the two of them. I did really like though in A Whole New World because they start out at her balcony, and so the window is round and it's the lattice work, and then when they hop on the carpet, it just kind of all pulls away in different directions. It doesn't just go up. A lot of theater, kind of the set comes down or goes to the side. It kind of just all went whoom, and you're like, where? What? Okay.
It gave way to the moon. Like, when you really think about it, it gave way to the moon, because the moon was going to fill that shape.
Yeah.
So it was like using the negative space. You pulled away the front, and what was left was the moon.
Since we're on the topic of A Whole New World, do we just want to go into the carpet?
I think we should talk about the carpet.
In the DCA show, the carpet is a character, and it's kind of going, hey, what's up?
Which I actually kind of missed.
I know, because there's no carpet character. You don't really hear much about the carpet at all until Genie says, like, oh, you need a magic carpet. You miss a boo, and then you're not getting a carpet, and you're not actually getting Iago the parrot. So that was a little bit of a miss, where you kind of go like, oh.
I think it's more a nostalgia. It's more of a nostalgia miss than actually, like, something feels left out of the production. It doesn't feel like anything is missing.
But it's just kind of,
you just know that they were a part of the film version, and you missed them yourself. Because you have a connection to it.
Right.
But I don't think it was a detriment to the show.
No. So you don't really see much of the carpet other than they're on it. All of a sudden the carpet starts floating, and you're kind of looking at it, and I think all of us were probably going, okay, how are they doing this? How are they doing this? If you've seen Fantasmic and you've seen the new version and Aladdin and Jasmine come on the carpet and it's on a mechanism and it kind of goes like this, but you can't really
Very
see
old
it
Hollywood, yeah.
because of the smoke, but it's just kind of this thing that's going like
Spoiler
that.
alert.
There's no mechanism, and so you're really looking at it closely and you're going, oh, there's no wires.
I don't see wires. There's nothing underneath. They actually mess with you a little bit because the carpet comes out twice.
Yes.
During A Whole New World, and then once again during the finale, and it is full stage lighting. And they know that you're trying to figure it out because they've got cast members on stage. Like, they'll kind of have their hands on it to steady it while Aladdin and Jasmine get on there. But they deliberately have it rotate. They deliberately have cast members walk around it and under it to show you there is nothing there.
Yeah.
And it's like the world's greatest magic trick carpet.
During A Whole New World, I mean, I know I was definitely doing this. You've got the moon screen, and it would kind of fly in front of it, so you'd look and go, there are no strings crossing over that moon.
Shadows going across the lights. Yeah.
It was trippy, so we have a couple of theories.
I think we could say our theories. Like, we have no basis for this at all. This is just what we've decided could be possibilities.
Our guesses. My guess was some sort of magnetism.
Like how BB-8 is on a set of magnets, so he rolls around.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering if there's some magnetism in the carpet and then in the flooring. But then it flew away towards the top of the stage, and you kind of went, oh. Maybe not.
Like, if you think about how far up Peter Pan flies, if you go see Peter Pan on stage, like, it was at the top of the set. It's not just, 5 feet and it's just make-believe fog. It's way up on top.
I don't know. So it was one of those, is it some sort of crazy magnetism? But then I think your theory is spot on. I don't know.
I'm thinking maybe it's some kind of crazy silent drone or hovercraft or something. I think I saw a little section of the carpet that looked like a black circle on one of the corners, which would make sense if there's 4 of those on the carpet. It could be using fans or whatever drones use to kind of balance out. But there's 2 adult people on it. So I don't know how that would work, if it's even possible. I mean, Disney put out a flying dragon drone, and so anything's possible, I guess, and I feel like they're pretty state-of-the-art in what they do, and they're going to keep that secret.
There's a lot of speculation. But I feel like that's possible because we know that Disney is using drones or wants to use drones for things. I've heard that they are looking into using drones for Star Wars Land, so it wouldn't surprise me if they somehow figured out a way to use
This is
drones
like their very first way of figuring it out.
Yeah, and honestly, it was beautiful, it was seamless, and
They
it was
didn't-
believable. The carpet is flying.
They didn't move around a lot either.
No, they didn't.
I don't think they were strapped in. There's got to be some safety, something involved.
weren't
But
strapped.
they did not leave the stage area. So unlike DCA, they did not come anywhere near the audience. They stayed on the stage, like over the stage floor. Even though they were higher up, they didn't go past the edge. And they just, like, they were singing and they kind of leaned back at a certain point when the carpet went up. But other than that, they weren't doing crazy choreography. They were very still. You could tell that they didn't make any big jerky arm movements, which could like unbalance anything. And
I mean, they did turn at one point in time so they could face each other and sing.
but it was a really slow
But it
movement.
was, yeah, it wasn't anything herky-jerky. But, I mean...
Herky-jerky.
Sorry. But it just was really incredible to go, it's actually a flying carpet. And I'm sure kids were just like, oh my gosh, it's actually flying. I mean, as adults, oh my gosh, it's actually flying. How are they doing this?
I think
Disney, what?
A Whole New World got just as much applause because of the carpet stuff.
Oh,
as a friend like me. If it would have been appropriate for a standing ovation, I feel like they would have.
Which, I feel like since we're kind of still talking about DCA a little bit and A Whole New World, the one major thing I noticed that was the same as the DCA version. When Aladdin is going to jump off the balcony and the carpet catches him and Jasmine's like, no, oh my gosh. And he kind of comes up, like in the DCA version, he comes up and he's like, hey guys, what's up? He kind of did that in this show, and that kind of bugged me because I went, oh no, that's DCA's thing. No dude. He kind of comes up. I don't know. I don't remember if he did this or if he just kind of was like, I'm all, you ripped that off DCA. That was not okay.
Oh, another thing that was a little bit different. Jasmine figures out way beforehand that he's Aladdin.
Yes, that is true. Because
she figured it out. But then he lies again.
Well, because, you know, of course, that's how the story goes.
I mean, he still gets himself in trouble, but she's a smart cookie.
She is. I think she figured it out after Prince Ali. Which, I will say, so I've seen The Lion King on Broadway, and if you've seen The Lion King, there are similarities to the DCA version of Aladdin, where during Circle of Life, puppets come down of very large animals.
They're like body puppets. They're not like...
No, it's like someone is in an elephant, kind of like Ali came in during Aladdin in the DCA version, and so they would have people come down the aisles, and I have to say, I love that about the DCA version, and I kind of was like, well, how are they going to do it for the Broadway version? And then it was, oh no, it comes down the aisle, come on, man!
Yeah, if you haven't seen the DCA version, you won't miss anything, but
No.
I felt like I did miss that. Like, you know how we were saying that it didn't matter that Abu or the carpet were there? I missed that interaction a lot. There wasn't a lot of, other than the Genie's things, there wasn't a lot of audience participation.
No.
Or
not at all,
not
really.
participation, but like involvement. So when the parade would come down, they would come down the aisles, they would interact with people who were sitting on the edge. There was a giant elephant there, there was birds, there was... you know, all this, but they didn't have any of that. They didn't even have the Circle of Life birds like they did. Aladdin at DCA had that, right? Didn't they have the birds on the poles that they would...
I think so. So yeah, I will say I was a little bummed about that because it was one of those, I'm curious how they're going to do this.
You've seen it so big in the cartoon and in DCA is a little bit underwhelming, I thought.
Yeah.
That might be my only real critique of it, is that I was a little underwhelmed by the parade.
Because it's supposed to be this opulent, spectacular thing where you're, oh my gosh, it's Prince Ali. And so they all just kind of come out on stage in little bits. And I kind of was a little surprised that they chose to go all white.
But that's what it is.
But everyone was in white.
Why is that bad?
I don't know. I just, in my head, that it's another Friend Like Me where it's flashy and bright colors everywhere because you've got, you know, he's got the peacocks and all those things, and you expect it's a parade, and parade to me says colorful. And this was all the costumes were white, all their props were white.
But think about, they're in the desert, everyone's wearing earth tones. If you've got someone wearing all white where there's sand and dust and dirt, that I feel like that signifies wealth and cleanliness, and you're wanting to stand out in all white.
Well, which I would understand for Ali being in all white, but everyone was in all white.
But it's his parade.
Yeah, that's true. But I thought it could, I thought that part could have used a little more color and a little more flashiness. I know the whole thing was flashy, but I think it could have had a little bit more, hey, this is a parade and we're trying to sell off this prince to you guys. Like,
I think that it was a nice contrast
from all the other colors and glitter.
Okay. Yeah, we disagree on something.
Okay. Yeah, but it's fine. Well, I think we should. I know we've kind of talked about the costumes a little bit and the amount of glitter, but I thought they were really fun.
Oh,
flowy. And
can we talk about Jafar's color changing?
Costume color changing?
He had 3 costume changes in one scene.
I would say in a matter of 30 seconds.
Yeah, it was crazy. Okay, so it's the part where Jafar is like, make me the Sultan! No, wait, make me the Genie! Blah, blah, blah. And so he's standing up on one of those lattice things, and he's talking about all of this, and he says, Genie, make me an all-powerful Sultan. And he's like, okay, and boom, he goes from black to all white. And I was like, wait, what?
I mean, I feel like it was a little more trippy than the Elsa dress change in the Frozen show. You're just kind of like, wait,
if you blink, you miss it.
How did you do it? Because all the lights are on, and you just, all of a sudden, he's a different color, and you're like, oh, what?
Not just his clothes.
Oh, yeah.
His turban changes color. That's what I didn't even notice the turban until maybe about 60 seconds after. I was like, wait, Jafar doesn't have a white turban. When did he put on a white turban?
Yeah.
I was so confused. And then it happens again where he says, make me a genie. And again, boom, he's in red.
Which I will say that part was a little...
You were waiting for it.
Yes, but I mean the whole make me a genie in the movie, it's this whole, he turns into a genie and there's this whole scene about it, but in the Broadway version, he's a genie for about 10 seconds and then he's in the lamp. And you're all, oh, okay, that was a quick development. All right.
Yeah.
There's no real Jafar as a genie.
There's no like snake coming up like this. Did you like that? That was the snake.
But that costume change still kind of makes me go.
That was probably one of the more awesome costume changes. I don't think there was a lot of crazy ones. That one was really fun.
Ooh, we gotta wrap this up. My battery's starting to die.
Uh-oh. Okay, so real quick, merchandise. Everybody gets a playbill. Just your typical playbill. Talks about the theater, talks about who did what as far as the production, talks about the actual Pantages, and then it's got all kinds of who's who, bios. And then it talks about what's coming up next. So, woo! All good stuff. Recommend going to the Pantages. And then we get a whole new world program. It was $20.
That's not too bad.
I mean, it's not too bad.
It's pretty.
But it's got all kinds of in-depth look stuff inside of the show. So just feast your eyes on that. We also got an awesome tote bag. Which features the logo of the Broadway show,
which is the genie, and
then it has Aladdin on the back, so we each got one of those.
And then for our viewers, we have, this is very hard to see, so we will post a picture, but it is an Aladdin keychain, and we are going to do a giveaway over on dapsmagic.com. You will need to check out the Aladdin review article that we will post and how to get this keychain. One lucky person will get this flashy gold and purple and sparkly keychain. So I think that wraps it up.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed this.
thank you for joining us and our tea and hot chocolate and how we talked about Aladdin, because we love talking, and we love talking Disney.
If you saw Aladdin on Broadway, whether it was at Pantages or somewhere else, let us know in the comments what your favorite part was or anything else. And don't forget to subscribe to DAPs Magic. Follow us over on dapsmagic.com for more articles and news about Disney. Bye guys!
Bye!
Costumes.